Welcome to the Fantasy Dummies Football Podcast. I'm your host, Kay.
And I'm Jeremy.
And we are the Fantasy Dummies.
I'm the fantasy.
Shut up. Don't do it. No, don't do it.
But you kind of started that. That's what you started doing, and now it's kind of a thing. Even though it's kind of a dumb thing. I don't know if I want to go with that. But
I'm the fantasy. You're the dummy.
Sure.
Anyway, so we're skipping over a few things or a couple of things to get into today's episode because we feel like it's a very good episode to give for you guys right before draft starts. We're only a few weeks away from regular season. We've already seen a few games of preseason, and I think it's perfect time for us to whip this out. What do you think?
Well, I don't know if I like the phrase whip it out in this situation.
Whip it out.
Yeah, sure. This is going to be the first episode that isn't a division breakdown, which I think is pretty cool because we're actually getting into the actual information and the analyzing of strategy and whatnot. Something we're going to deep dive into today is the strategy for the first two rounds of fantasy drafts, which I believe this year is very important. I mean, it's important every year, but this year I think getting the picks right in the first two rounds really can build your fantasy team either the right way or the wrong way. And I'm here to tell you about, at least my opinion, some mispriced players and how to navigate that, especially in the second round. So, what do you think?
That sounds good.
Yeah.
I mean, let's get right into it.
Yeah.
Wait, do you have any news to share for us today?
Do I have any news? Oh, well, just some random injuries, you know.
Random injuries, like Puka Nacua's
bursa sack. I will be completely honest. I'm no medical expert. I had no idea what a bursa sack was until Puka Nacua suffered a bursa sack injury. Apparently, it's some fluid in your joints. It's like a sack of fluid in your joints, and his sack of fluid burst in his knee. And apparently, it's not supposed to be super serious. It's just very painful.
Oh.
At least according to Sean McVay. So,
what does that mean for the rest of the season?
Look, I'm a man. Hearing my bursa sack burst is not something I want to have to deal with.
Hearing anything burst doesn't sound good at all, period.
No, not at all. So, I mean, we have that. And, you know, there's just some other random injuries. So, like, Marshawn Lloyd has a hamstring injury.
Who?
We haven't talked about Marshawn Lloyd yet. We still have, 3 more divisions to do? We have the NFC North, NFC South, and NFC West. Those are the last 3 divisions.
Well, we did the most important one. That's all that matters to me.
Sure. That's why I did it first in the NFC. But Marshawn Lloyd he's a rookie running back drafted by the Packers, and he should be the backup to Josh Jacobs, who's now on the Packers. And he suffered a hamstring injury, which really sucks for him because as a rookie, you don't want to get hurt in training camp in your rookie season because you lose out on all that valuable, time and, getting accumulated to the team and the reps and all that. So I think that really sucks for him.
And all the screen time and the camera time that you get while you're,
Yeah. Well, and I think what this does, like fantasy-wise, is this kind of boosts Josh Jacobs more and more. Now, we're going to talk about him a little bit today because, like I said before, we're going to be talking about the first 2 rounds. And on FantasyPros, he is currently a second-round pick. Now, he's at the end of the second round. But on ESPN, he's a little bit later. So, but we will be talking about him. So, I mean, figured I should mention it. And the other major injury that happened in the first week of preseason is Hollywood Brown.
Hollywood.
Yeah, Hollywood. He ended up going to the hospital for... Now, I apologize if I get this wrong on the first try. A sternoclavicular joint dislocation. No, don't do that, because I nailed it that first try.
Clavicular.
Sternoclavicular joint dislocation.
Sternoclavicular.
And as I said before, I'm no medical expert, so I had to look this up. Apparently, this is actually a huge deal. It's the bone that is, it's like right here. I don't really know, but it
on your sternum.
It connects to your sternum, and he dislocated it, and he had to go to the hospital to, they had to check to make sure no blood vessels were like ruptured or something like that. So this is supposed to be like a 4 to 6 week injury, and the article I read about the sternoclavicular joint dislocation injury.
Say that again, but like 3 times faster.
Hey, sternoclavicular.
Yeah, but you have to say the rest of it to go with it.
I'm not doing that again. So the article I read about the sternoclavicular joint dislocation injury is
what?
I'm not saying that shit again. It mentioned that for a normal person, they recommend not lifting anything above the weight of a glass of water with the arm that it happened to.
Oh. So how are you supposed to go pee?
What? Are you trying to say? Never mind.
It's a joke.
What are you? Never mind.
It's a joke. I heard about it.
Okay. So my question is, Hollywood Brown is a football player that will have to lift things that are heavier than a glass of water, such as a football. Okay. How is he supposed to
catch it?
Catch it, yeah.
I mean, let alone get hit.
That seems pretty serious.
Let alone get hit.
And I've seen that he's like questionable for week 1, might be back week 1. I'm sitting here saying, okay, from what I read, it sounds like he might not even, like, it might just be so serious that it could be long lasting.
A lifetime thing.
It could be like for like a year.
Ooh.
Yeah.
But not lifetime.
Not lifetime, no.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's just a dislocation, but I mean, still, what do you do with this? I mean, this has to boost all the other receivers. It has to boost brother. Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice, unless he gets suspended. I mean, even Kelsey gets a little boost, I guess, but
Xavier it is this season.
Xavier to the moon.
To the moon.
Yeah. So
let's go.
Yeah, man, those are the injuries I have. I mean, there might be some more. There might be some other minor ones, but those were the 2 that I really had, written down and thought were serious. So,
yeah.
Unless you have anything else, I'm ready to move into the strategy.
Let's get it.
All right. I should say first too, I will never say that I'm a fantasy analyst. Okay, I hate that term because at the end of the day, we're just people who love fantasy football, and I'm just a guy that loves fantasy football, so I want everyone listening to this to take my opinion, I guess, with a grain of salt. I mean, if you want to do your own thing, do your own thing. I'm just telling you from my experience and from what I've seen in drafts and with prices of players and from what I've seen playing years and years of fantasy football on what my opinion is for the first 2 rounds, because we're talking about the first 2 rounds for this season, right? I just wanted to mention that.
Right. No, that makes sense.
Basically, it's like the fine print saying, hey, if you follow my strategy and you ended up in 12th place in your league, don't blame me.
Yes. This is all our opinion.
Yes.
Just like the saying.
Our opinion.
It's like the saying.
Yeah. What?
It's just like that saying.
What?
Opinions are like...
Okay. Assholes?
Yes.
Oh, all right. So, I tried to explain this strategy a little bit to you. This was actually one of the first things I wanted to talk about on a podcast that wasn't a division breakdown, because I've been waiting to make this video or podcast for so long. So, in years past, running backs have always been highly drafted. I'm talking like 5 to 7 years ago. I mean, everyone was drafting running back in the first round. Everyone. I think there's a year, probably like 4 years ago, where like 13 of the top 14 picks in drafts were running backs. Just to say that running backs used to be I mean, the go-to, you have to get your running backs early on, first, second round. Okay, at least one. Now, over the span of the last 2 years, wide receivers have been pushed up a lot. And most of that is because of the zero running back and hero running back strategy. Hero running back being draft one running back in the first round or two, and then don't draft any more until like round 8, 9, late.
So like you draft a superstar.
Yeah.
And then
you draft one running back, and he's your hero running back. And
you basically just put all your money on this guy, and then
basically it's saying my running back 2 in my starting lineup is going to be my worst roster spot, and you fill in everything else first.
Right.
That's hero running back. Zero running back is basically that same strategy, except you don't have that one running back. You just don't draft running backs until like at least round 6, round 7.
You basically almost punt the position.
You punt the position. You just fill in everything else while everyone else is drafting running backs early on. You draft them really late so you can get all those other positions filled early on. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. That sounds like a good plan, I guess. And
that's been the very popular strategy the last couple of years, the hero or the zero running back strategy. And the reason why I say this is every league I'm in, there's at least 2 or 3 people attempting to do that strategy. It has become very popular. Whereas back in the day, like 5-7 years ago, that was maybe there would be like one person doing that. And then you'd question him like, huh, what an idiot. He hasn't grabbed a running back in the first 3 rounds. What's he going to do?
I mean, in years past, I guess I didn't even know that this was a term. I've always gone with a hero running back. Yeah. I'd usually pick a really good running back early on, and then the rest of the team, it just kind of, I make sure that I have one good running back, and then the rest of them I have a good wide receiver. And I like wide receivers because they give you points.
Well, see,
one catch is a point.
Yes. So that's the other thing is it depends on what type of format your league is. So I like to talk about full PPR because it's my favorite type of format. Now, a lot of people play with half PPR, but in full PPR, wide receivers are definitely seen, with a higher sense of urgency to get because each catch is a free point. In full PPR, it's for a running back to get a full point, they need 10 rushing yards.
Yeah,
whereas
seems like a waste.
For a wide receiver, he could literally make one catch for 0 yards of the line of scrimmage and get tackled. And that's the same amount of points as a running back running 10 yards.
Right.
So in full PPR, wide receivers are definitely prioritized.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I like
So with that being said,
that's why Puka was husbando last year.
Yeah, Puka was really good last year. So with that being said, I'm telling you to do the opposite this year as a strategy. So that's going to go really well, right? I'm just telling you to do the opposite of what you should do.
I don't listen to you. You can't tell me what to do.
So yeah, that's fine. You can totally listen to you can listen to this podcast, hear what I'm going to tell you, and then completely ignore me. But let me try to just give you some information on why I think my strategy here is going to work.
Sure. I will listen.
You will listen to me. Perfect. So let's talk about the first 2 rounds. And I have a list here of all the players being drafted in the first 2 rounds according to FantasyPros and Underdog. I kind of combined the first 2 rounds together. And look, I know on different platforms that you play, these players might be different. A lot of people play on ESPN. A lot of people play on Yahoo. If you play on those platforms, there might be other players in this list. Some of these might not even be here, but the general strategy remains the same. Okay. The first round. Let me just read the names that I have for the first 12 players off the board. You have Christian McCaffrey, Ceedee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, Bijan Robinson, Breece Hall, Jamar Chase, Amon-Ra St. Brown, A.J. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, Garrett Wilson, Puka Nacua.
Puka,
yeah. I think Puka's going to drop these rankings obviously haven't accounted for his injury yet, I don't believe. So I could easily see him falling outside of the first round. But the fact still remains. I believe there is a clear teardrop of receivers from Garrett Wilson to everyone else remaining in the second round. Okay? So let me read you the tier that I have in the first round. Ceedee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Amon-Ra St. Brown, A.J. Brown, Garrett Wilson. Now, you can take any of those receivers, and I believe any of those receivers have the ability to finish as the number one receiver this year. Any of them. Now, Jamar Chase, for instance, I have a much lower probability in my head because you already know how I feel about Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
Right. But if Joe Burrow stays healthy the entire season, I think Jamar Chase has a legit shot at finishing as the number one wide receiver.
I mean, I have a question.
What's up?
So currently number one, I mean, I don't know if this affects the strategy. Yeah. The current number one wide receiver is Ceedee Lamb.
Yes.
Ceedee Lamb is not practicing.
Yes.
Does that affect the strategy?
Well, I mean, if he hasn't practiced and hasn't played at all by the time the season starts, then, I mean, yeah. I mean, you could definitely question whether or not to take him here. But, I mean, that's going to be reflective in any rankings. You know, it's the same thing as anyone else. That's like, you know, if any one of these players, like, twists their ankle, you know, I mean, that's going to affect the tier a little bit.
Right. Okay.
So, I mean, let me say this, too. We're recording, what day is this? This is, like, one of the first weeks in August.
Sunday,
August
11th.
August 11th, we're recording this. We still have about, I don't know, almost a little less than a full month until the season starts, right? These rankings are all subject to change. Okay. With that being said, the receivers that I just read, there are, how many? 7. There's 7 of them. I believe those 7 receivers are in a tier of their own. Now, let me read you the second round. Okay. These are all the players that I have conglomerated, I don't know if that's a word, combined together from those 2 platforms that I told you about. Starting at 13 overall. Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor, Kyren Williams, Marvin Harrison Jr., Devontae Adams, Drake London, Travis Etienne, Devon Achane, Josh Allen, Derrick Henry, Chris Olave, and Josh Jacobs. Okay?
All big names, but...
All big names. So, notice the receivers that I just mentioned in that second round. You got Marvin Harrison Jr., rookie, Devontae Adams, Drake London, Chris Olave. Okay? And I put some of the early third-round picks in this example here, too. As Debo. Debo goes at 27. Nico Collins goes at 28. And then you have the 2 big tight ends. You got Laporta and Kelsey going 29 and 31 respectively. Okay? Now, what did you notice about those receivers in that second round? I'm talking about Marvin Harrison Jr., Devontae Adams, Drake London. Those 3 especially, and Chris Olave. Those were the 4 big receivers in that round. You're just shaking your head.
I don't know.
You don't know.
I wasn't paying attention.
That's fine. In my opinion, those 4 receivers all have gigantic question marks. Okay. Marvin Harrison Jr., great prospect, but he's a rookie. He's literally going as the earliest ADP rookie receiver in the history of fantasy football. No rookie receiver has ever been drafted this high. Ever. Even Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson in their rookie seasons were not this high. Okay. Devontae Adams, right after Marvin Harrison Jr., is going to have Gardner Minshew throwing to him.
Mustache.
Okay. Mustache, yeah. So, could Devontae Adams see 170 targets this year? Yeah. Yeah, he could.
Yeah, of course.
He could also have exactly the year he had last year and have 100 catches on 170 targets. Okay. Huge question mark. Drake London is right after Devontae Adams. Now, don't get me wrong. I love me some Drake London. I think he's very good. He's going into his third season. But he also is going to be a part of the Falcons, who should be a lot better, but they also have Kirk Cousins coming off an Achilles injury at the age of, 36 or 37?
Oh, my.
So there's another question mark. We also don't even know if Kirk Cousins and Drake London are going to be like, two peas in a pod. You know what I mean? We haven't seen the connection yet. And I'm not saying it can't exist. I'm just saying, what if Kirk Cousins isn't as good coming off an Achilles injury at 36 years old as everyone wants to believe he will be? Right?
Why not?
It's just a huge question mark.
You don't believe in, miracles?
Nah, I don't know how to answer that. And then the last one is Chris Olave, right? Chris Olave, I love Chris Olave. I think he's very, very good. In his rookie season, I had him on my team. I had drafted him in the 9th round. And he was really good for me in the 9th round. Now, last year, he was a 2nd round pick. Actually, he might have been early 3rd. I don't remember. He was like at the 2-3 turn. He did not live up to that price, in my opinion.
Oh, boy. Did you pick him up?
No. Someone drafted him. I mean, he was going as a 2nd, 3rd round pick. The person who drafted him held on to him all year. Now, was he bad? I wouldn't say he was bad.
That's just expensive.
He was very expensive, right? And now he's going in literally the exact same spot. Nothing has changed. He still has Derek Carr throwing to him. It's going to be a different offense, I guess, with Clint Kubiak calling the shots now, who we haven't talked about that change yet because we haven't talked about the NFC South, but we will once we get to that episode. It's just, I don't like the Saints offense. The Saints offense has just been so bleh.
Bleh.
Yeah,
bleh.
It's been bad the last few years. So I don't really want to draft him in the 2nd round. I would love to get him in like the 5th round. That's more of a price I'd be willing to pay.
Question.
What?
Where does ESPN or Yahoo have Chris Olave at?
I'm not sure. I don't have the ESPN list in front of me. Why don't you pull that up?
Let's see. I have it pulled up. Olave?
Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, I also want to mention real quick while you're looking up Olave, the only receiver...
He's a number 10 wide receiver.
Yeah, he's a number 1 receiver.
Number 10.
That is really high. Number 10 receiver would be... I mean, there's 7 in the first... 8. There's 8 in the first round. So he would be in the 2nd round. He's a 2nd round pick on... He's a 2nd round pick on ESPN as well.
Ooh. I don't know about that, bro.
My point is, you can see a clear like correlation to what I'm doing, right?
Yeah.
The receivers, and look, the other receiver we haven't mentioned yet is Puka Nacua. Puka Nacua is currently going as the 12th pick of the draft, 1st round. Now, he will probably drop at least a little bit after this burst of sack injury, okay? I'm not saying he won't, but he's still going to be drafted pretty high. I assume he won't fall out of the 2nd round. I mean, I could be wrong, but he's still going to be up there, okay? That's just another giant question mark. Puka takes a lot of brunt hits. Okay. He gets hit a lot. Now, last year it was okay because he wasn't out for an extended period of time, but he was constantly questionable with like random nicks and bruises and shit,
Yeah.
He gets hit a lot.
Yeah. Those were some scary times for sure.
Yeah. And prior to him getting drafted, that was actually one of his concerns, was that he got hurt all the time.
Oh.
So my point is, after Garrett Wilson, you got Puka, Marvin, Devontae Adams, Drake London, Chris Olave. All of those receivers, in my opinion, have huge question marks. Okay? The point I'm trying to make is, you should not draft a wide receiver in round 2 this year.
But not even Puka?
Not even Puka.
Well, I mean,
now,
I'm just a little biased, but I might be drafting a quarterback in the second round.
Look, Josh Allen is going in the second round, and if you want to draft him there, I'm not going to say no to that. But Jalen Hurts goes in the third round right now. You could just pass on Josh Allen in the second and get Jalen Hurts in the third round, who, in my opinion, like I said before in the NFC East episode, I think Jalen Hurts has the potential to have a Josh Allen year. Josh Allen's offense is going to be worse this year, and Jalen Hurts is hopefully going to have a bounce back year, I would hope. So there's so much value this year in the second round for running backs, which brings me to my literal point of this podcast today. You need to draft a running back in the second round. It should be a lock, okay? A lock. Unless one of the receivers from the first round, from Garrett Wilson and up, falls. Then we can talk about it. Okay, because that has happened to me before in some drafts I've done so far. I've had like A.J. Brown drop into the early second. And at that price, I'm just like, sure, can't pass that up. But my point is, let's look at the running backs in the second round, okay? After Jahmyr Gibbs at pick 10 in the first round, the running backs go here. Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor, Kyren Williams, Travis Etienne, Devon Achane, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs. And then also, Pacheco goes two picks later in the early third at 26. And actually, that's it. That's all I want to talk about, because I don't know how Pacheco is going in the third round. Okay. What do you see? Like, what are the things in common with those running backs I just mentioned? All in that second round.
Aren't they all RB1s?
So, yes, they're all RB1s, minus, you could argue Devon Achane, because he's not really a full-time running back yet, like a workhorse, because Mostert's still there. But Devon Achane is a one-of-one, like, he's a special case. Don't even really mention, I'm not even going to talk about Achane a lot in this episode, okay? He's a whole different beast.
Oh, I know what it is.
What?
They're 3 down backs.
They're 3 down workhorse backs on elite offenses.
I got one right.
All of them.
Did I get a cookie?
Barkley's on the Eagles. Jonathan Taylor's on the Colts, and you know how high I am on the Colts. Kyren Williams is on the Rams. The Rams should have a top 5 offense. Okay. Travis Etienne's on the Jaguars. You can argue that Etienne is not on an elite offense, I guess, but he's the lowest one of the bunch. Derrick Henry's going to be on the Ravens. Should be a top 10 offense. Josh Jacobs is on the Packers, which was a top 10 offense last year. Pacheco's on the Chiefs, which is a top 10 offense. Okay? All of those players are elite. 3 down workhorses on elite offenses. Okay? In any other year, prior to these last 2 years where wide receivers are just being so overinflated in price, some of these players would be middle of the first round picks. Okay? Kyren Williams last year was, I'm not even going to have people argue with me over this. Kyren Williams was the second best running back in all of fantasy last year behind Christian McCaffrey.
Oh, wow.
Okay? When he was on the field, he was scoring at least 20 points a game. The dude is a monster. In any other year, he should be a first-round pick easily. Like, I'm talking like pick 5, pick 6, somewhere in there. He is currently going in the second round. Okay? Now, later on, I don't know when, probably after the division breakdown episodes, we're going to have a My Guy episode where I'm going to tell you guys some of my favorite players that I cannot leave a draft with. Okay? Or
without.
I cannot leave a draft without, okay?
How look at I was paying attention.
Yes. I'm guaranteeing you, well, maybe not guarantee. I'm telling you right now, I would probably expect at least 2 of these running backs in this second round to be on that list. Okay? I really think if you can grab one of the top receivers that we talked about, anyone between Ceedee Lamb to Garrett Wilson in the first round, come back around and get 2 of these running backs that are in the second, starting at Saquon, Jonathan Taylor, Kyren Williams, Devon Achane, Travis Etienne, Derrick Henry, and Pacheco and Josh Jacobs. If you can somehow grab 2 of those names, I think you're in business. Seriously. If you can get 2 of those running backs on your team, you really don't even have to look at running back again until like round 7, round 8. Like, you're set. Now,
it sounds like one of those running back hero plan.
But it's not, because you're grabbing 2 of them. It's just going running back heavy. And see, that's where that's my point is, that's how the strategies used to be 5 to 7 years ago. Is you wanted to grab those running backs early, right? Now, like I said, people have been so wide receiver crazed these last 2 years that you can literally grab a Kyren Williams, a Isaiah Pacheco. Isaiah Pacheco is the 3-down workhorse running back for Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs.
Would you judge me if I drafted Barkley and then Jalen Hurts 1-2?
1-2?
1-2.
Well, I mean, it depends where you're drafting, of course. I mean, imagine if you get Bijan Robinson in the first round and then come back around and get Jonathan Taylor.
There's no way.
There is a way.
In like normal.
That's how they're priced.
Yeah, in previous years, there's no way that would happen.
There's no way. I mean, think about it. Would you rather have Bijan Robinson and Jonathan Taylor, or Bijan Robinson and Drake London?
Huh?
I mean, I'm not trying to talk shit about Drake London, but like Drake London as your second round pick when you could have Jonathan Taylor? Like, what are we doing? Like there's so much opportunity to grab wide receiver value in the middle to late rounds that, like, this year especially, that I really just think that you need to get at least 1 running back on one of these elite offenses. At least. I would say 2.
I definitely have learned that waiting much later to grab a running back was a mistake last year. That was one of the things that I failed to do because I wanted to grab Jalen Hurts early on, and I reached for him because I knew someone else was also an Eagles fan and would
grab him.
Yeah. Make that extension.
I mean, imagine
grab him.
Imagine your squad if you're able to pull off AJ Brown in the first round, come back around with Kyren Williams, and then come back in the third with Jalen Hurts.
That would never happen in my league.
But imagine.
But yes, in a normal league where, not everyone is the same Eagles fan and, they don't draft for their favorites team.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty amazing. I like it a lot.
Yeah. Now, I will say one thing. There is one receiver that could throw a wrench into this. Okay? I think Deebo Samuel, if Brandon Ayuk gets traded, can very easily mess this up.
Oh, great.
I think, well, let me say this. If Brandon Ayuk gets traded, I think Deebo Samuel could easily be seen as the 12th pick in the draft. I think he just takes Puka's spot, and then he just extends that wide receiver tier in that first round past Garrett Wilson to Deebo. Because his numbers without Ayuk on the field, with Brock Purdy throwing him the ball, are insane. Insane. So I think if Ayuk gets traded, Debo is a first-round pick. And I'll stand on that. But,
What are the possible teams that Ayuk might even land in?
Steelers.
Ah.
That's where he wants to go. If he lands on the Steelers, then George Pickens is pretty dead. And Freiermuth, the tight end, is pretty dead.
The fruit is roof.
The fruit is loose, yeah. So, my basic, too long didn't read of this episode is the second round. It has a bunch of mispriced wide receivers. Just go running back. Get yourself a workhorse, and that will be, the best option to do. What's up?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah. So, we can talk about the receivers in a different episode, but another thing I should mention is that after the second round receivers go, there's just probably a tier of I'm not even kidding, probably 15 to 20 receivers that, in my opinion, all have around the same amount of upside and the same amount of appeal. So if you can nail your first round with a receiver, I mean, one of those top ones, and then just go running back, I think you can easily fill up the rest of your squad with some decent receivers.
Yeah, I like that. I like that plan a lot because finding a decent running back later on in the later rounds is so tough, dude.
It's really tough.
It's so tough.
I'm telling you right now, after Pacheco, so I mean you can pull up the ADPs, but after Pacheco goes in the early third, I mean I expect Pacheco to come up because I believe on ESPN, Pacheco's a middle of the second round pick. So Pacheco is in this tier on ESPN. Now, if you're drafting, it's like I said before, I'm not going to sit here and try and figure out where all the ADPs are on every single platform. I'm just giving you a handful of names. But after Pacheco, it really just kind of falls off a cliff. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because then you start getting all the running backs that are I don't know. They just have question marks. These running backs don't have question marks.
They may get touches. They may get 10 points that game. Maybe.
Dude, yeah. I mean, like I said, I love all of these. I mean, Travis Etienne. I'm low on the Jaguars. I just can't get my bias out. I guess, or maybe it's not even bias. The Jaguars to me are kind of like the Browns in that the people always say oh, it's just the Browns, when they do something stupid.
Yeah.
That's same shit for me. When the Jaguars do something stupid, I'm like, well, yeah, that's the Jaguars. Yeah, it's just Travis Etienne, I'm probably never going to draft, but everything is the same with him. He's a 3-down workhorse back in a good offense. But I'd rather just have all the running backs I mentioned. Derrick Henry. I mean, shit, man. Derrick Henry he's always been a first-round pick until last year.
After he got hurt.
Well, yeah. And then, I don't know, man. Jonathan Taylor and Saquon Barkley going in the second round is insane to me. Kyren Williams going in the second round after he literally was the second best back in fantasy is ludicrous. He's so good. So yeah, I would just say grab a running back in the second round. I'm not even saying don't grab a running back in the first round. It's just that if you grab one of these running backs in the first round, say Breece Hall or Bijan or Jahmyr Gibbs in the first round, and then come back with another running back, it kind of just limits what you can do throughout the rest of your draft. It kind of prevents you from grabbing value at running back if other running backs start to fall. So I'm just saying wide receiver running back should be the strategy this year. So.
Yes, I like it.
So anything else to add?
No, not really. I mean, I'm here to listen to you on that.
I've been wanting to talk about this for a while, and I know I was actually going to save it for as the first podcast once we were done with the division breakdowns, but figured why not just do it now. I actually wrote like a lot about it in my notes, and I might post it like on my Twitter, or on the Fantasy Dummies Twitter. So if you guys want to see all my notes that I wrote down for this, maybe I wouldn't even call it an article length, but it's a read.
Significant info.
It's a significant info, in a read. So I'll post that on the Twitter. The link will be in the bio and descriptions wherever you guys are watching this. But other than that, I don't have anything else to add.
Wow. It's a short episode. I like it.
I don't even know where the timer is. I don't know how long we've been recording, so. But
thank you so much for listening, guys. I hope that this information was good for you. If you have any feedback, please, keep it positive. We're good folks out here. Let's try to be nice.
Yeah, let's do that. I like positivity. It's definitely better than someone telling me I'm a horrible analyst. To which I say, buddy, I just like fantasy football.
Yeah,
I'm a nerd for it.
We're just normal people.
We're just normal people. I'm a nerd for fantasy football. It's like I said, this is all for fun. So I don't consider myself an analyst. I don't consider myself a talent evaluator. That's also another thing that I really love when people say, is when they're just like, yeah, I just look for the talent, or he's just really talented. It's like, buddy, it's the NFL. They're all talented. Like, what are we doing here? Anyway, sorry about that. I just had a little tangent. Thank you guys for watching or listening, and hopefully you find this information useful. If you have any questions about it, just message the show or in the comments or whatever. It's like I said, we'll probably post the link to my notes on the Twitter, linked in the bio and comments. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think. My name is Jeremy.
My name is Kay.
And we are the Fantasy Dummies. We'll see you later.
Peace out, Girl Scouts.
Sure.